having this vision. I've been having this vision. Either rise or you fall. I'm on a mission, bringing my dreams to fruition. I ain't playing at all. Bring out the body bags, I'm about to kill them, deliver them to the mortician. I gotta do what I gotta do. That's for my fish, back in my face. I gotta do what I gotta do. I pray to God, he never came. I'ma do me, I'ma do me. That's in my blood, I never change. That's in my blood, I never change. That's in my blood, I never change.
Welcome to the WSL Post Show. Only 4 heats, but more action in those 4 heats than maybe we've seen all year. So much to talk about as we take a look inside the judges' booth. And you can see Italo in there breaking things down, not happy with how things panned out at the end of that heat. And he would have finished his ride off confidently, turned around and watched Jack's waving completion. So would have had a fair understanding of where he thought those numbers were going to go. An extremely close decision. Let's hear from the winner, though, moving through to the semi-finals here at the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach. Jack Robinson with Laura Anova.
Wow, Jack. Fireworks at the end of that heat. I don't think it's come any closer or taken any longer for the judges to decide. Waiting on the stairs there, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I knew it was one of those moments that, you know, that you think about or you see, like, that just, I feel like it's happening at the start of the year, but these moments are like the finals, you know, that finish at the end of the year. You know, you're in clutch moments like that. So it's nice that I got through that one now. And yeah, I'm just in my time on my zone. You know, that was it. Left it all on that one, and I had no real like things stopping me from doing what I was doing on that wave. I feel like I was free to do it, and yeah, just did my job, and yeah, that was, I don't know what it was. It was crazy.
And talk about the end of that heat. You had priority. You went a wave and it didn't turn out. Was there a moment there where you didn't think it might happen, but you know, those sets just kept coming through? You called them right.
No, I didn't think about that really. I mean, sometimes it pops in your head a bit here and there, but it wasn't really there. It was to the damn end, to be honest. Like, I just didn't. Yeah, it's always till the end, isn't it? You know, so I breathe it, and I believe it. That's it, and there it is.
Talk about coming up against Italo, such a fierce competitor, a winner, past winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good competitor. He's a champ, and but everyone is good on this tour. You know, this is best, and in the end, I can't really look at him any differently. It's just another guy. And I stay humble. I'm good, but yeah, every guy is really good. So it's just one at a time.
And you've been down here the longest of all the competitors, coming straight from Portugal here. Talk about what this means to you after all that time you put in.
Yeah, it's crazy. I came straight from Portugal. I haven't been home in 10 months. But I'm back in Australia. I feel like home. You know, everyone. It is my home. You know, it's where I have so much support, and I'm just happy to be in the homeland, home country.
Well, you've got so much support and backing behind you. We'll see you in the semi-finals tomorrow. Jack Robinson, amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah, clutch performance there from Jack. He'll take on Callum Robson in that second semi-final, which is going to be huge for both of those surfers who are really looking to shore up their place above the cut line. Going into the mid-year cut, that last event, they've really relieved the pressure on themselves. They're going to be making a big jump up the ratings, an amazing performance. But that heat was so close, Bugs, and Italo obviously feeling like it went his way.
Well, there was only 0.2 of a point in it. You know, I mean, there's two big scores going on in it. When it comes down to the last exchange, I mean, you know, you're going to be really rooting for yourself. You know, you're going to be thinking you did the job. And he's been a world champion, a Bells champion. He thought he'd got the job done.
Shannon, in reflecting on those last couple of rides, what were your thoughts when the scores were coming through from the panel?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bugs hit on it there with it just being so close that it was a question mark. So it kind of, the judges clearly took their time with it. They obviously know what they're doing up there. And it was very well surfed back-to-back waves on the finish. I'm really glad they both got the opportunity, and Jack got the upper hand.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's dive into the recap and get a closer look at these rides. It was a close heat. It didn't kick off like the first quarterfinal or the second. These surfers were kind of scrapping their way to numbers, Bugs, and really having to work hard for their numbers.
Oh, they leapfrogged each other the whole heat, Ronnie. I mean, this was a street fight, this heat.
It sure was. Jack has really just been surfing so beautifully. When you look at the numbers, Shannon, it was all looking pretty positive for him. He had an excellent ride in the 4th round, and you know, he managed to get himself a 7-point ride early on to kind of put some pressure on this guy, but you know, he doesn't really feel it, does he? He always reads the waves so well.
Yeah, Italo is unbelievable out here. I mean, Jack definitely got the job done by getting that 7 early on to put the pressure onto Italo, but I mean, he performed incredibly well in those last couple of exchanges, so it really could have gone tooth and nail either way. I thought his backhand attack was really impressive from Italo. He had some really good wave selection with size, grit, kind of that wild bells that we want to be seeing when we're talking, you know, quarterfinals and beyond. And Italo did really well, but Jack, he's just been on fire. He's really been finding that rhythm, and it's exciting to see him into the semifinals at a wave that I think we're going to see so much success from him in the future, and now to be seeing it from him at a young age. And just, I mean, those down carves from him, so many of those critical maneuvers. Jack's bringing all that spice.
Yeah, Bugs, we've seen those last couple of rides now, and I guess, you know, the first waves didn't really play too much of a part. Obviously, every score is important, but everything really hedged on that exchange, and you know, there was the feeling that Italo maybe did a bit more work. Where did Jack find the edge with his ride?
Well, I mean, you know, seriously, if they called it a tie, I would have gone with that. You know, it was just so close, and it was a line ball decision. I mean, you know, in the end of the day, it was just, it came down to, I think, Jack's finishing turns. You know, they weren't shore break turns. They were on the steep face down the line a bit, and he finished just so strongly on his rides.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, there was a lot of emotion from Italo after that one. He hit the Red Bull athlete zone there and just quickly ripped his jersey off and raced straight up to the panel.
Well, it's understandable for Italo. Like, he's come off of such a strong performance in the last couple of years, and he's sitting kind of low down the rankings for the start of the season for him. He really wants to be in a world title conversation for him, and that means going past the quarters. For Jack, it's his 2nd year on tour. Anything he gets is going to be a great result.
And you know, the other thing about it is that quarterfinals here at Bells, you know, the whole thing about it, if you were saying at the start of the thing, I'll give you an equal 5th, will you take it? You might go, okay. But you get to the quarterfinals, you're in touching distance of the final. There's a lot of emotion riding out there in all 4 of those quarters.
Yeah, there was really interesting battles unfolding in all 4. All the big performances on the open face, the huge numbers actually were coming from the first 2 heats. The top half has been where the true form has been throughout the contest so far. It was just amazing again to see Ethan Ewing, Owen Wright. They went at it. I thought Owen would have a better chance against Ethan if the swell kind of held in and the offshore was still blowing, but today he just struggled with the bump, and Ethan's so aggressive on his opening ride, Bugs.
Yeah, Ethan just looked so solid from the get-go here, and I mean, this was just a wire-to-wire victory.
Yeah, really dominant. I mean, he caught 3 waves in this quarterfinal clash, or 4, but they were all solid. You know, he could have beaten Owen with his backup numbers.
Well, Owen just kept going for the first wave of the set as well. There was bump on every one of his rides. He just didn't reach the heights of his earlier rounds.
And that's what we saw in some of the women's performances yesterday, was just that wave selection being so critical, not jumping the gun and going on the early set. It's got to be that 2nd or that 3rd one to have that clean face. And Ethan Ewing has done an incredibly good job at wave selection within this event. As you mentioned, Ronnie, all of his scores were above the 7-point range in this heat specifically, which is incredible consistency. And I was proud of him for taking out Owen Wright.
Yeah, it was a big ask too. Ethan hasn't been in this position to get himself into semi-finals too often, and this is just his 2nd semi-final appearance, but it was great to have Mick Fanning in the booth with us to break down Ethan's approach and just talk about his power, the way he's able to actually drive that board through all the lumps and bumps that do pop up on days like today and still give you the impression that you're looking at a glassy lineup, Bugs, and it just wasn't the case for Owen.
I mean, his wave choice was impeccable, and he was on you know, much smoother face waves, but you know, Mick had it right. I was listening to that. I mean, he just powers through section. There's nothing out of place, but it's the subtleties of where he gets his speed and power from.
A massive tip of the cap, though, to Owen Wright, who came into this event way down the back end of the ratings, and he's going to be making a big climb with that quarterfinal appearance and giving himself a much better shot at getting above the mid-year cut line over there at Margaret River. Quarterfinal number 2. Let's get into it. I mean, on paper, you couldn't help but start getting excited about this one. The crowd on the beach certainly did, and up here in the car park at Bells Beach, they were making so much noise as these two hit the lineup.
It was that opening exchange that really set the tone. I was actually standing just up the steps from Ross Williams, John's coach, as Italo took off on this wave, which was just unbelievable. It obviously came through in that high 9 range, and then John went on the one behind, which was a little bit bigger. It had a little more size to it, but Philippe was able to get more work done. John's score came in just below Philippe's. And I was sitting there with Ross, and Ross, before the scores were dropped, he thought it was going to go in John's favor because of wave size versus Philippe getting more work done. It was a really interesting one.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, it's at that point, it's, you know, it was all excellent surfing, Bugs, no matter what way you look at it. But John's wave flattened out a little bit. Felipe was really lucky. He's just hit that perfect section of the reef. And even looking at John's last turn, such a difficult move to execute, but he didn't exactly tee off on it either.
Well, I watched this exchange from in the competitors area, and obviously the Brazilian Storm were over there, and they were just so throaty on this. This was just pure. They were exalted with the way Philippe surfed that wave. And then others there, I mean, Chris Moore came over and said, you know, it was that wave choice, and the bigger waves aren't always the best.
Well, Felipe, he was here to entertain today. He took off on a few waves after getting the big 9, and he attacked the first section, and then suddenly reeled it in. Richie Lovett picked up on it. He went, hang on, he's already got a 1-point jump and some on the opening exchange. If he can put a 6 on the board, you know, he needs a 7. If he can get higher than that, it's an 8. So it was really well executed from Felipe. It felt like he kind of gathered himself halfway through that heat to finish it off.
Yeah, he really just figured out how to get that backup score quickly. It was on that paddle back out that he swung and went on the next wave in the set, which wasn't even from that outside section, but it was just enough to get the job done, as you said, because he set that pace so much higher, getting into those 9s on the start rather than John's 8.
Yeah, and it sets up an unbelievable semi-final clash on the top side of the draw. Ethan Ewing, who's looked razor sharp and been dropping excellent scores in his last 3 performances. And Felipe's the same. He's been dropping excellent scores. On the bottom side, we've got Callum Robson. He's had 1 excellent score, but some solid heat score totals. He came up against Miguel Pupo, and this one also went right down to the wire with both competitors standing on the beach wondering what the outcome was going to be when it all unfolded. Let's dive into the recap. And Bugs, you know, the performances on that top side of the draw, you know, our jaws were on the ground. These guys, you know, they were solid, but they're going to have to lift. And Callum Robson, he just did what he's been doing throughout and just performed with a lot of power.
He's been so consistent with his performances in every heat, and he's doing man turns. You know, his power game has really served him well. He's been super cool under pressure, though. That's been the telling point with Callum. When he's had clutch waves in these past 3 heats, clutch rides when he's needed to.
Just a different post-heat interview with Callum these days. Stop 1, the Billabong Pod Pro. You were talking to him after he was getting heat wins, and he was just buzzing, just so excited. You can tell he's entered that happy zone. But Miguel Pupo, one of the best backhand performances in the contest this year, and fought so hard to give himself a chance in the final stages.
And he did so well. He made it into the quarters here at Bells. He's had really early knockouts across a decade of competing. So for him to make it this far was really important. And then he had this critical moment on the finish where Callum let him go on this wave.
I thought Callum was going to really regret that maneuver.
So did I.
Bad not to take that ride with only a short amount of time on the clock. He thought there were set waves on the outside, but they actually caught him out of position.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and you know, in the end of the day, if you look at the judges, this was a 3-2 decision. 2 judges had him in front. One by, you know, a 6-5, and I mean, and 3 judges had him a little lowballed.
Yeah, 5.4 versus Callum's 5.87. You know, the only thing I can think is that wave just didn't have the height that maybe Callum's 5.87 had. But You know, Miguel Pupo, I think if he reviews it, he still might have a tough time working out how he didn't get through that heat. Callum, he was certainly relieved when they read out the score because he thought that he'd thrown his chance at a semi-final at Bells Beach away.
I mean, it was honestly like, what was he thinking when he let Miguel go on that wave, aside from the fact that he could see that set and then he just got drilled by it. It was like the biggest, widest set that had come through for the afternoon. He absolutely took it on the head. So maybe if he'd been able to tell that it wasn't really going to work out in the first place, he would have not let Miguel go. But he also thought, well, there's a better set behind. Like, he's going to have the opportunity either way.
Yeah, in that situation, Bugs, I just don't think you can give someone like Miguel a chance. And anyway, he's through. He survived, and he'll now take on Jack Robinson in what will be a fantastic semi-final clash. Let's have a look at the leaderboard because obviously there's only 4 surfers left in the mix. I've had a look at this live leaderboard. There's going to be such a big shuffle on the rankings coming into stop number 5, but there is a big chance here for Felipe Toledo to really confirm his spot as the most informed surfer on the rankings at the moment, in 4th place, and everyone around him in the top 5 just fell out of the mix, Bugs.
That's right, and there's a really good chance for a couple of these other guys to go into the top 10.
A huge chance, and at the back end of the leaderboard, it's going to be very interesting as well. Here is the semi-final bracket. That top semi, I think they're the form surfers. That's whoever gets through, that's the guy to beat.
Yeah.
On the bottom side of the draw, you know, I mentioned all the big scores that were coming from Ethan Ewing and Felipe Toledo. Callum and Jack just have one excellent ride each in the event so far, and I think it's going to take excellent rides to win this one.
And I mean, you just think on form and on paper, you know, you'd think that going into the final day, Felipe Toledo has become the favourite.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, he is so strong. I mean, whoever beat John Florence was going to be the favourite to win this event because in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, Shannon, he was unstoppable.
Oh, it was, how could John have been beat until that heat? And he kind of threw it at the end, too, where he went up for that air. He said he kind of just had the section. He had to react to it. He had an opportunity, though. Maybe if he'd stayed on rail, he could have still been ahead of Felipe in that one. But Felipe definitely the man to beat now.
Yeah, definitely. And that brings us to the Boost Mobile wave of the day. It could only be one. It was the first wave of quarterfinal number 2, Bugs. Take us through it. It was something special.
Well, and the beautiful thing about this wave, it kept giving. You know, it was steep all the way. It was an elongated bowl section, just kept bowling up for him, and it gets stronger and stronger. That was an unbelievable turn there, and then he gets one more in, just a searing snap. And this was a phenomenal ride. It had to go in the high 9s.
Yeah, I thought that both Felipe and John, you know, if those scores were both a little higher, it wouldn't have been a bummer. But on the first exchange of what was a big quarterfinal clash, you had to sort of expect that they were maybe going to bank a big second score, but it just didn't come their way.
Yeah, the waves just didn't really show up, which was unfortunate because we would have loved to see both of them getting that heat total into that excellent range as well and really putting on a good battle of who can find the better 9. Can we find a 10 out here at Bells this week? But to see Felipe get it straight off the bat, I mean, to keep it under control, under pressure, and like you said, Bugs, that wave just continued offering him more, and speed, power, flow, he took it through.
Yeah, he smashed it. Well, there's still plenty to come. We've got the top 5 around the corner in what was just an unbelievable 4-heat day. Can you believe it? Thanks for staying with us for this edition of the WSL Post Show here on day 7 of the event window. And what a day it was. Felipe Toledo celebrating his birthday in complete style and moving on through to the semis. Big happy birthday to him, and also to our mate Strider Wasilewski, who's celebrating his 50th over there in Fiji. Oh, what a party that's going to be.
Oh, wow, that's so good.
Yeah, it would have been too much of a distraction here if it was happening during the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach. But an amazing day with so many big highlights. But we've got to reflect on the women's semi-final bracket. We've got surfers chasing their first Bells titles, and then we've got, you know, Bells specialists chasing their 4th Bells win. And Courtney Conlog, you know, you've got to remember that she missed 2018, so she's on already a 3-event winning spree here at Bells Beach. She's got the chance to get a 4th. That's huge.
Oh, yeah, her record out here is unbelievable. To think of the current crop that she's now competing in the draw right now, those are many of the women that she's taken down over those last 3 appearances. That is really going to go in her favor. Yeah,
Tyler Wright just looks so determined. In fact, both those competitors do in that top side of the draw, but Carissa Moore down low in that second semi-final. You'd like her chances against Brisa, but Brisa is the world #1 for a reason. Here is the men's bracket again. Can't get enough of this. Huge matchup. Big bounce back for the Australians, who've been really grovelling their way through the first events of the season. Callum Robson, huge moment for him, Bug. So a couple of surfers chasing their first championship tour win here on finals day. And obviously Felipe Toledo looking for his 2nd Bells final, and this time he's got a great chance of getting the big one.
He's got a great chance, but he's got a little mountain to climb in the form of Ethan Ewing, so that's going to be an incredible semi-final.
It sure is. Let's have a look at the Surfline forecaster, and Bugs, I want you to look at these conditions for me, but I also want you to tell me who you think might have the edge with the conditions we are looking at for finals day.
Well, cranking offshore Sunday. What's tomorrow?
That'll be Easter Sunday, mate.
That's what we want to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? We'll be down here bright and early. The big thing today, Shannon, was that tide. It played a huge part in the decision to get competition underway or not early on. It was a long hold. It was the right call because it kind of pulsed through this afternoon. Yeah,
it was really good call. That wind came up, but it wasn't too bad. As we take a look at that long-term forecast, it's really good to see that for tomorrow, Sunday, there's still those 6 to 8 foot conditions. As long as the wind can be sort of favorable, I would see us running tomorrow morning just because we've only got a few hours of competition left. We're going to try and push it through before that tide peaks out in the afternoon.
Yeah, Bugs, you want to follow that forecast. It's very reliable, but here at Bells Beach, you've just got to show up early and get eyes on it.
If tomorrow, Easter Sunday, and the Easter bunnies come, never look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yep, take the chocolates and run. But yeah, it has been a magical day of competition. So much drama. I can't believe it was only the 4 heats, but it is going to set up an unbelievable showdown for the Bells title in its 59th edition. Great men's challenges and also a fantastic cast of women going after the win here. So let's get stuck into it tomorrow. Predictions, Shannon, for you on the women's side?
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to say Courtney Conlog. She's, again, had that tear, and I think she's got so much hunger to need to make that midseason cut. I think that hunger is going to take her through to a victory.
Well, that would be the ultimate clutch performance. Bugs, for you, what about on the men's side?
Well, I guess I do think that the winner of the semi-final with Felipe Toledo and Ethan Ewing are just they're just coming from that really strong side of the draw. Felipe Toledo beating John, it's got to give him a bit of a spring in his step. Yeah,
I think that's a good call. I think the winner's in that first semi-final too. Now it's time to dive into the top 5 for the day, and there was so many highlights, as I mentioned, and keep just absolutely ramming home. It was only 4 heats, and yet one of the most dramatic afternoons of competition that we've had all year. The fans, they love it. A big weekend down here around Easter, Bugs, and they turned out in force today to watch the quarters unfold.
They came early. They were here at 7 o'clock this morning, and they waited all day and it was a worthwhile wait.
Yeah, and the surfers were really appreciative of their commitment and just hanging out for the call to get competition underway. So a big shout out to all the fans that made the trip down to Bells Beach this year, and we know that you're going to be here on finals day to bring it home. And then we got stuck into it. The first quarterfinal heat saw Ethan Ewing just continue this aggressive approach on the railbugs.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. He's really coming into his own. He's getting stronger as the tournament progresses, and that's a good sign. He's going to have to draw upon a peak performance tomorrow.
Yeah, I loved watching this guy just do his thing out here. You can tell that he's starting to really do his best surfing with the CT jersey on.
And imagine, too, from the same family getting that bell. His mom, Helen Lambert, took it back in the 80s. And if Ethan Ewing can answer back and get that bell at home, that's going to be a really cool trophy case.
It'll be a big emotional victory. He's definitely looking ultra inspired. And we'll see what kind of form he brings to final stage. John Florence in a losing quarterfinal clash with Felipe Toledo still gave us amazing highlights. 8.43 for this wave. What about that first turn?
Well, this is one of the biggest waves of the day. You know, you can't underestimate how powerful this wave is, and it's power for power. And John, he didn't win the heat, but that is the most difficult thing you could ever imagine.
Yeah, degree of difficulty very insane on that last manoeuvre. He climbed on top of it. Quarterfinal number 4 brought fireworks in the finish. Italo Ferreira. And he is a former Bells champ. He was the last left in the mix this afternoon. He was up against Jack Robinson. He would have really fancied his chances.
He would have thought that he had it. I mean, it's their first CT matchup as well, so there's not that kind of remembrance to go back to for either of them on, okay, I had the edge here or there. Italo would have thought, hey, he's an Olympic gold medalist, a world champion, and a bell ringer. He's got Jack under control, but man, Jack came back and really took him down.
Italo still thinks he had it, but Jack Robinson, you know, I'm starting to see why maybe the judges gave Jack the nod with just that big turn on the outside section. It was a good-sized set wave, and he brought it home strong, Bugs.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. This board looks so small, and yet he controls it so well in this heavy water.
Yeah, it was amazing. Not sure who he was pointing to there, but he was definitely pointing to someone, letting them know that he liked that ride.
You know, it reminded me of a warning moment.
Yeah, big shot across the bow there, celebrating with his coach, Matty Bemrose, who was buzzing. Italo was clearly frustrated. And, you know, I think, again, you go back and you review those waves. It's a close heat that could have gone either way. This time it's gone in Jack's favour.
Yeah, it was a line ball decision, and you know, that's what I said. It was a knock 'em down street fight.
But this guy stole the show today, and he did it with one ride. Our top moment for the day, Felipe Toledo. Birthday excellence, going near perfect on this one, Shannon.
Oh, it was so close. Would have loved to see him walk away with a 10, but I got to feel like he is happy with that. Look at how fast and how much power he is stringing together on this wave. I mean, it just stood up so perfectly for him. That would have been the coolest birthday gift as well, to paddle out for his first wave. It wasn't like he went hunting for this thing for a while. It just opened up straight from the start.
Well, he earned the gift. And it came in the way of that big number. I'm pretty sure he's happy with how things panned out this afternoon. It's a good birthday for him, Bugs.
What a welcome back to the beach, a Brazilian birthday, and no one celebrates like the Brazilians.
However, Felipe won't be celebrating too hard tonight. It's going to be a very mellow evening. There's still a couple of huge heats to come. He might be in both of them the way he's competing at the moment. But, yeah, a monster day competition. And, you know, again, we just got the best out of the conditions on offer today. We're on hold for a long time. But there really wasn't the consistency in the swell, Bugs, and also the steepness in the face.
No, well, I mean, all day we waited for it. We had to go through a fairly high tide. It was a 1.8 metre tide. We've got a full moon coming at Easter. And there would have been a pretty bad decision to go earlier. And we waited for that new swell to kick in, and it arrived. And it's made for a really great little package tomorrow.
Most definitely. Shannon, great to chat surfing with you today. And Bugs, we'll see you. The Bunny Rabbit will be out bright and early tomorrow morning, ready to wrap up an unbelievable year. It could be going down tomorrow. Make sure you tune in bright and early. But for now, we'll leave you with the highlights.
They're on!
What a fantastic day. The crowd starting to fill in here at Bells Beach once again. Ethan on the first wave and straight into it. Big hammer there. Ethan Ewing too strong in quarterfinal number 1. He's on his way to the semi-finals. Getting things started early, Toledo, and he hammers it.
Unbelievable surfing. Here's the answer back.
Felipe Toledo, just too strong.
Callum Robson, he is heating up. Happy with that one.
Here's Jack Robbo, and he finishes big on the inside.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.